So, guys, I wanted to get into, Jamie, I wouldn't mind if you lead the conversation on this, setting the context for, I guess, the overarching areas of leadership that we look to focus on and what's required of our leadership skills within the business and outside the business. But then once we've got a bit of a handle on this, looking at some of the finer policies that we can start to implement this year that really help these three areas take shape. So can you take us through these three key areas of leadership?
Yeah, thanks, Brenton. Look, basically, Ed's often said over the years that a firm is a reflection of the owner. And, one particular circumstance might be where you've got a firm owner and they've got some staff. And if a firm owner isn't a good manager or doesn't learn the leadership skills, they'll tend to do everything themselves. So they'll tend to be able to, they'll be very high productivity. They'll really keep the work in themselves. They won't be that good at delegating. And what happens is that they really hit this first barrier of, roughly 600K to $1 million. So they're good at letting themselves and good at getting results themselves. And so you've got that particular scenario. The next type of scenario is you might be good at leading others, and Ed touched on being too friendly with others, and you might be even inspirational to others. But then, this was probably my fit, that I failed to hold people accountable. I failed to set systems in place around accountability and results. And so you get a reflection of a firm of someone like that. And so the last point there is, leading the business is really the third pillar. If you can be good at leading yourself and good at leading the others, the second point, but the third pillar is having the ability to bring that team to get results as well. And if you incorporate those three pillars and have those three things working together in combination, whether that's a sporting team or your practice, your accounting or bookkeeping practice, that is the key, and that's the synergy. And that's where you'll get, you'll inspire to lead others, their productivity will be great, you'll get good results, and you'll be really good at leading yourself. But as soon as you sort of drop one of those off, you get anything that's less than what the vision should be of how a successful firm should run. And, from those three pillars in Brenton, we go into, well, what are some of the things, what are some of the leadership policies
Mm-hmm.
that we use, that we educate ourselves and educate the leaders underneath us and our entire teams of, how to implement these ideas of how to go about it.
Absolutely. And just touching on these three points here, once these were made clear to you, were there any obvious gaps in what you had implemented or the leadership skills that you had kind of identified within the business that you had, and you've since worked on bridging those?
Yeah, there was heaps of gaps. I'd never heard of the no bypass policy. I'd had a team. If you don't have a no bypass policy, I was undermining some of the senior staff and not knowing that I was doing it.
Hmm.
I was friendly, but I wasn't keeping people accountable. I didn't have, say, the daily huddle meetings. I didn't do the weekly tactical meetings. It was all just sort of thrown together, and I've got to this point, but where to now? And,
Yeah,
quite literally, I just didn't have the knowledge that Ed had, and then just went on that journey to incorporate it in. And to be fair, I don't think, whether we go to school or university, how many of us are taught managerial skills? Are we taught leadership skills? I know I wasn't. And Ed sorted this self out for himself with
yeah.
books and whatnot. And I think Ed's comment was the other day, well, a lot of it's common sense. Unless you think of it and implement it, then you don't get the results you're after.
Absolutely. And Ed, throw it to you. Looking at that there, we're talking about leadership as a whole, and now we're talking about leadership in three different areas. The whole conversation of becoming a better leader can be somewhat overwhelming, especially if putting yourself out there and being the people person isn't something that's kind of close to you or in your comfort zone. So how do we approach this in terms of simple steps towards becoming better leaders in these three areas, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to start with yourself. You know, someone's said that don't try and change others, try and change yourself first. And that's easier said than done. A natural state is that it's everybody else's fault, not mine. And you create this, you know, if it's everybody else's fault, then you can't change things unless you change yourself first. And the biggest thing for me was to focus on one thing and one thing only. It's about solutions and outcomes. That should be the focus of all your decision making. And I'll just give you an example. We had an incident here the other day where there was a mistake made, a problem made, and our marketing team, this particular person said to me, "Oh, it was, you know, Jack's fault. He caused the problem." And my response to him was, "I don't really care whose fault it is. I'm not interested in whose fault it is. Let's just find a solution. How do we fix it?" So if you focus your attention on the solution, you'll find solutions. But if you look for problems, then you'll find those as well. And if you look for excuses, you'll find those as well. So look for solutions. That's the one single, it's the most simplest advice I can give you, which has helped me a lot. So whenever I'm in a particular situation, I just focus on, well, how do we fix this? I don't care who did it. Let's just fix the problem. So if you use that one single thing, and that's going to help a lot.